I lived a normal life growing up. I did cheerleading and gymnastics and climbing trees and things like that. I was a very rough house kind of kid. I was 18 and I said to my mom, I didn't know what I felt, but I told her, I said, you know, my heart doesn't feel right. And I don't really know how it's supposed to feel at the time, but I was like, it just doesn't feel right. And it wasn't often, it was once every few months, it would just feel like butterflies in my heart as opposed to like in your stomach or something. It wasn't comfortable. And so she took me to a cardiologist, and that particular cardiologist said, oh, you're young, there's nothing wrong with you. So we're like, well, you're the doctor, okay. But that was clearly not the case. I was at work one day, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but my gut kept saying, something's going to happen, you need to go to the hospital. So I drove to the hospital in Zephyr Hills, and they hooked up the monitors and everything else, and they said the doctor will be in a few minutes. 2 minutes later, the monitor was going off, and it was just blaring. My heart rate had gone from a beautiful 89 to 180.
Originally, we found that Jamie was having an elevated heart rate, and with more testing, we found that she had 2 types of arrhythmias. And we found that she had an extra pathway on the left side of the heart, as well as one close to her normal conduction system.
It was scary. It was. Knowing she was going to be in the hospital overnight, coming home, getting the kids ready for school in the morning, putting them to bed at night and letting them know, Mommy will be home when she gets here, you know, and then planning for what that could potentially bring.
We tried multiple different medications. I was in the hospital every few weeks for a week to a week and a half at a time. He was running out of medication options.
Pathway that Jamie had was very rare. I've only read about it in textbooks prior. Jamie had a particular pathway called a fascicular-ventricular pathway, which was an extra conduction system close to her normal conduction system.
And I said, so what's my option? And he's like, well, we can ablate the AV node. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he goes, it means your heart will never beat on its own again. That you will be 100% dependent on your pacemaker. I said, but I won't be in here anymore, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, sign me up.
So Jamie, after her cardiac procedures and pacemaker, just has to take care with following up with her doctors for routine visits and checking her device appropriately at 6-month intervals. But Jamie, as far as her routine lifestyle, can now do her normal work.
I am projected to live a normal, long, healthy life. I will just have to change my battery every few years. But it's been a lot better.
You know, we're able to do what we can and want to do. As much time as we can get, we try to do it.
I asked Dr. Jacob specifically, what hospitals do you service? So that in the event that, let's say I'm in New Tampa, and in my mind, if something happens, I can tell them to take me to the nearest Advent Health hospital that Dr. Jacob is servicing. I would choose an Advent Health hospital over any other hospital.